year, but same old story in Farmageddon as Iowa State beats Kansas State for the third year in a row, winning 24-21 in Ireland. What a great way, guys, to kick off the college football season. I mean, this game had it all. It's exactly how you want to start the 2025 season. A top 25 rivalry game. It's the 109th meeting between the Cyclones and the Wildcats. So, top 25 matchup, rivalry game between two Big 12 title contenders, two college football playoff contenders, and it ended in a one-possession game. That is what we're talking about. And it actually ended in a bit of an upset. Kansas State was favored. Iowa State found a way to pull off the win. And again, the game had it all. I mean, back and forth, extremely sloppy to kick off the game. That first quarter was horrendous. Tons of turnovers from both teams. Neither could hold on to the football. It was just, at times, really hard to watch. And then the rain stopped a little bit. The offense started to figure things out, and we ended with a 24-21 game. So 45 combined points in a game where at one point I said it might end in 14-10 after how bad it started. But I look at this game. We're going to do a little quick hit or instant analysis. It just ended. I want to kind of share my initial thoughts. I look at this game. It felt like another year where Kansas State beat themselves. And now we're not discrediting Iowa State. We're going to talk about the Cyclones in a second and all the things they did so well. But I look at Kansas State, and I feel like this is a game they should have won. Last year, they lost to Iowa State by 8 points, and we talked about that in our prediction video about how, Kansas State initially kind of gifted Iowa State 16 of the 29 points they scored in 2024. Did so through turnovers, did so through safety. It was a game where Kansas State, if they just hadn't, self-inflicted wounds, they win that game. That's exactly what would have happened today. Kansas State did not bring their A game. They did not look the part as a Big 12 title contender. They did not look the part as a playoff contender. I mean, you look at it. Right out the gate, they muff the punt, right? They get a stop on Iowa State's first drive. They muff a punt. Iowa State, luckily for them, fumbled later, so it negated it, but not a great start. They were later stopped on 4th and 1 from the Iowa State 7-yard line. Why these teams across the country cannot pick up 1 yard is beyond me. It's actually pitiful how often that happens. I would say, not very aggressive running from Avery Johnson, I would say. Stopped on 4th and 1 from the Iowa State 7. They later fumbled at the Iowa State 21. They had a dropped pass on 4th and 9 from the Iowa State 33. That wasn't Avery Johnson's fault. Decent throw, just a dropped pass. They had a dropped interception, a crucial dropped interception that ultimately led to an Iowa State field goal with a little over 10 minutes left in the game. Kansas State gets that interception. It's a tie game. They have a chance with momentum to go take the lead, their first lead of the game, because they never led in this game. Later in the game, stopped on 4th and 1 from their own 30. Chris Kleiman, trying to get a little gutsy, felt that this team on 4th and 1 should have picked it up. Didn't. Some would say that the ruling and the spot was a little controversial. Didn't really do a great job of looking at it. But again, Avery Johnson did not run aggressively enough. He did not do everything he needed to do to fight for that 1 yard. And maybe he was interested in kind of going outside a little bit instead of right up the middle. But regardless, a poor coaching call. I get the aggressiveness. But the stop on their own 30 led to an Iowa State touchdown 4 plays later to give them a 10-point lead. Kansas State fired right back with a 65-yard touchdown. That was great, but then the defense, which was supposed to be one of the best in the conference, could not do their job, allowed Iowa State to march down the field, waste a lot of clock, and gave up that crucial 4th and 3 conversion. A gutsy call by Matt Campbell gave up that 4th and 3 conversion, a play that everybody saw coming, sending that running back out into the flats wide open. We saw it coming. Everybody but Kansas State saw it coming. The Cyclones converted. I thought we scored a touchdown on it. Fell short, which was probably the best case scenario for the Cyclones anyway, because they could just kneel out the clock and not give Kansas State a chance for a miracle. So, again, muffed punt. Twice they were stopped on 4th and 1. They fumbled at the Iowa State 21. They dropped a pass on 4th and 9. They dropped the interception. They dropped a handful of other passes that they should have caught. And that was a problem last year. It clearly hasn't been fixed. And then discipline. Kansas State, 6 penalties for 48 yards. Iowa State, only 1 penalty for 5 yards. So the Wildcats beat themselves again. And this has been an issue that plagued them last year, not just against Iowa State, but in multiple other games. They clearly didn't take the time to fix that. They clearly didn't take the time to fix the problems where they were beating themselves. Iowa State, though, they deserve a lot of credit. They deserve a lot of credit because Matt Campbell, I thought, coached a very good game. I thought he had his team ready to go. I was very impressed with Rocco Bex. He only completed 50% of his passes, but he was very calm, poised in the pocket, made some big plays with his legs. The offense was extremely balanced, 183 passing yards, 130 rushing yards, and we saw in the second half Iowa State really was dominating on the ground. Kansas State had no answer for that later in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter. So a lot of props to Iowa State for using their power up front in the trenches, their ability to run the ball as effectively as they did, where Kansas State, again, had no answer for them. The Cyclones went 3 for 3 on fourth down. Kansas State went 1 for 4. That was a big storyline to watch out for. Matt Campbell, aggressive. They know how to pick up the short yardage. Kansas State didn't. So I look at this game, and again, Kansas State, I will say, beat themselves. But Iowa State deserved to win. They didn't make a whole lot of mistakes. They had a couple turnovers, but you know what? They overcame that. Kansas State couldn't. And it felt to me that, honestly, when Kansas State dropped that interception early in the fourth quarter, that demoralized the entire team. They were tied at that point. But dropping that interception where it was we had the momentum. Iowa State got that lucky break. They took advantage of it. Kansas State just seemed demoralized after that. And that's a sign of poor coaching. That's a sign of poor mental toughness. And we know for a fact that really since Matt Campbell has arrived in Ames, Iowa State does not have that. Iowa State does not struggle with poor mental toughness. They don't struggle with aggressiveness. They got all that every single week against every single opponent. Whether they win or lose, they still got it. So a lot of props to Iowa State here, who now, with this win, again, it's a massive, massive win, now finds themselves, I think, as the Big 12 frontrunner. There are other teams that are going to compete for that, right? Baylor's a contender. Utah's a contender. Texas Tech is a contender. Arizona State, the reigning champions, they're a contender. But Iowa State gets to host Arizona State later in the season. Again, it's only week 0. There's a lot of football left to be played. But I look at Iowa State's schedule, they very well could start 8-0. They've got a very cush schedule pretty much from now till November. Pretty much from now till that Arizona State game. Yes, they got to play Iowa. They got to get Colorado in there, BYU. They got some tough games, sure. But a lot of games I expect the Cyclones to be favored in, where it's at to the point where, even if they do slip up only once, they can still get into the Big 12 championship. They can still get into the Cashapp playoffs. You look at Kansas State, I don't want to say their season's done because there's a lot of football left to be played, but considering their schedule still has games at Baylor, at home against a good TCU team, at home against a good Texas Tech team, and then on the road at Utah, some of the best teams remaining in this conference, the Wildcats have a much tougher schedule the rest of the way that Iowa State does. It's not looking good for them. This felt like the year that Kansas State maybe could break through, win the Big 12, which I know they've done before, but win the Big 12, make the college football playoff. With this loss, I'm going to say that's not going to happen. And that's a shame because I actually thought they would. I picked Kansas State. They were my preseason favorite to win the Big 12. They were my preseason pick to win the Big 12. And again, the season's not over, but watching what I saw today and how bad they looked, the drop passes, the mistakes, some bad throws by Avery Johnson. He had some decent yardage numbers, but 65 of those came on one play. He didn't look like he improved that much as a passer. Say it's because the wide receivers couldn't catch. But you can also say it's because Avery Johnson threw some too low, threw some behind him. Didn't make the right reads. Wasn't that mobile with his legs. I didn't see a lot from this Kansas State offense that made me excited. I certainly didn't see a lot from this defense that made me excited. It doesn't give me a lot of faith as they have a much tougher schedule going forward. Again, first game, things can change, but not a good look for the Wildcats. A great look, though, for Iowa State. Overcoming a lot, getting a massive win in Ireland. Right now, the Big 12 favorite as we really begin this 2025 season. So guys, let us know your thoughts. What did you think of the season opener in Ireland? The first college football game of the year. For the second year in a row, we see an upset. Last year, Georgia Tech in Ireland beats Florida State. This year, Iowa State pulls off the smaller upset over Kansas State. Going to make for a wild year in the Big 12, wild year across the country. Enjoy the rest of your week 0. We're going to have more analysis on these games and obviously coming into week 1 here in the coming days. But leave your thoughts about what we just saw in Ireland below, and let's get ready for a fantastic rest of the year. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to those expert picks, some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. You do not want to miss out on those, and they're one of the lowest prices in the country as well. One of the lowest prices you'll find anywhere else. So go sign up for those today. Sign up for those weekly newsletters. All that exclusive content there for you to take advantage of over the course of this season. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.